30-day challenges are very hard. Of course, that's why they're challenges, but damn, they have hands. Of the many I've attempted in my life, I've only finished 3 of them, one of which very publicly took me much more than 30 days. But I still got a lot from the experience, and it inspired a solution that might satiate the itch for a month-long art challenge in a more sustainable way. But first, today's video is sponsored by
us. Welcome to the new and improved ~ᵉʳᵒ merch store, y'all. We've got some cute-ass pins and hella soft sweaters made just for you.
Wait, who's you?
You. The gay people in your phone.
There's gay people in my phone?
Everything from the style to the colors to the cotton was chosen specially by us. And by us, I mean me.
Wait, what happened to the old manufacturer?
I don't know.
So, where do you want the body?
So anyway, sweater pre-orders will be available for a limited time, starting now and running through October 31st. After that, they'll go into production and ship out sometime around late November or early December. Pins are available right now, no pre-order necessary, and we can ship them rather quickly. For more information, check out our website at ~ᵉŻ.com. You licked the markers, didn't you?
Welcome one and all to the Actually Infected Art Challenge. A 10-part challenge that takes place over 20 days, where the theme is common mistakes and unfortunate accidents that artists of all sorts of different mediums experience on a regular basis. 2 days from now, I'll be posting art inspired by our prompt list every other day, so there's 2 days to experiment and explore absolutely whatever my evil little heart desires. And I'd like to invite you all to join me. You can use whatever medium you want. Use multiple for all I care. Change it up with the day. You could choose to follow a prompt list very literally and work with that mistake, or simply make a piece inspired by the idea of it. Hell, you don't even have to follow our posting schedule if you don't want to. It's entirely optional. You can do whatever you want forever! That's enough. But yes, we wanted to create a smaller scale art challenge and hope to encourage our viewers to experiment and be loose and free and have fun with their art by embracing mistakes instead of dwelling on them. And perhaps even more importantly, this challenge is not about finding ways to interpret the prompt that will impress an audience. It's about exploring your own process and what you have fun doing, so try not to worry too much about the end result, but I understand that's a big ask. I understand because that's exactly what I did for day 1 of my own freaking challenge. I'm going to do day 1 here for you guys, but afterwards I'll be posting my results along with the rest of the suggested challenge schedule as shorts, and I'd love it if you joined me. The challenge for day 1 is to make something inspired by a problem that plagues many traditional artists: marker bleed. I am choosing to actually pull out my sketchbook and alcohol markers for this one. You can do whatever you want. The way I typically handle marker bleed in my sketchbooks is by avoiding it, covering it with sticky notes, outright avoiding drawing on pages with it, or my personal favorite, not using supplies that bleed through my paper in the first place. I mainly work with my beloved highlighters and pens. My initial vision for day 1 was to make a big illustration where the front side of the page was all nice and pretty, but then you'd flip it to the back. I'd use the bleed to do a dark, fucked up version of my channel mascot, haha. Just a glimpse into my dark reality. A full stare into my twisted perspective would make most simply go insane, Lamau. I didn't really know how possible that was or how to go about it though, because like I said, I don't use my alcohol markers much. So I wanted to start by experimenting with them a little more to pay closer attention to how bleed works and start brainstorming how I could pull this off. I started with using subject matter that shouldn't be questioned, using just a few colors to get reacquainted with layering and start getting an idea of how much ink one side needed to be able to bleed through to the back side of the page. It's a little hard to see because I already drew on top of it with more little guys that we don't have to worry about right now. But these were done in my ᵒᵒ sketchbook, which has paper that's made specifically to be more resistant to bleed. I did these in Sharpies because they're really opaque, so they should be good at covering up bleed, and I know the paper takes at least a little Sharpie remarkably well, but I wanted to test what my limits and limitations would be to that. Looking between the 2 pages, I was thinking my vision for day 1 might look best if the ink bled through even more, which meant I'd have to do a lot of layering. And I found that Sharpies could start bleeding through the paper if you layer them too much, so I needed to be super careful and do some more experiments and make sure I plan out exactly what I'm doing for this final illustration. Because I'm doing this challenge traditionally, which means I only have like one opportunity to pull this off right, otherwise I might have to redo or abandon the entire illustration if I fuck it up, because there's no undo button. This is exactly where I started going wrong. The next page, I was testing out a bunch of colors I thought could suit my design and testing the ways they interacted when layered. My absolute favorite thing about alcohol markers is how some of their colors change when the inks overlap. And some color combos are more stunning than others, so I was drawing whatever shapes came to mind and mixing the colors in every way I could think to get me as familiar with my tools as possible. Then I flip my page and try again to figure out what I can be doing to work with this bleed without being overpowered. I tried layering even more alcohol ink on top, and I tried some acrylic markers, but neither of these really felt right either. It was really hard for me to think of ways I could layer the alcohol marker without completely copying the illustration on the front, because any deviation from the back will bleed through to the front, and that didn't feel allowed. And using acrylic markers felt too much like cheating because I wasn't actually working with the bleed at all, I was literally just painting over it, so I felt pretty stumped. But the thing that bothered me the most was that I was actually really hoping I'd be having scarier ideas than these. You guys don't have to draw horror stuff, but I wanted to, at least for a couple of these days. What the fuck? I'm such a horror fan. Why is this the best I can come up with to work around the bleed? This is pathetic. Maybe it's because I had bad shapes to go off of, but I think the main thing holding me back was the color palette, because these colors just don't really scare me. And I've made it out to myself that basically my only option is to exactly copy the original pose if I want to have something that looks good on both sides, that won't run the risk of ruining the other side of the page like a Sharpie and won't feel like cheating like acrylics. This was getting stressful, so I put that sketchbook away and grabbed another sketchbook that I didn't initially intend to show on camera, so I could get some lower stakes and more relaxing practice with some privacy. I got settled up all nice and cozy for watching horror movies with my team, scrolling Pinterest, looking up scary faces, and scribbling whatever kind of analog horror, MLP infection AU kind of fucked up uncanny weirdo things I could think of, with only a small handful of tools, because if I took any more than that with me, I was going to lose something. These are the kinds of tools I'm the most familiar with, and this kind of super limited doodling is what I have the most fun with. So it should not have come as a surprise when I realized how much fun I was having and that this is what I should have been doing for the challenge in the first place. Speaking to myself here, you motherfucker, you did it again! You got so worked up over your own expectations for a prompt for a challenge you made specifically to encourage people not to do that! Healing is non-linear and sometimes you fumble. I realized very quickly that these sketchbook pages were going to be my sort of formal submission for the first prompt, so I let myself do quite a few of them, and these were seriously a blast. But I'm going to go ahead and give a warning. If you don't like horror imagery, skip to the timestamp on screen, like, right now. The way I used the marker bleed prompt was I used the alcohol markers for the glowing parts of my mascot's hair, and whenever I got to the back side of the page, I'd use whatever bleed I had from those as the glowing parts for the hair again, and draw the rest of the character around that, trying to make sure I did something completely different from what I did on the front side. This felt like a freaky-deaky frolic. The fucked up proportions were already a huge strength to what I was going for here, so there really wasn't any way I could mess up. And the duality between my adorable mascot design and the way I was drawing it delighted me. What a little weirdo. What a little fucking freak. You look so fucking silly right now. This was a micron fine liner for all the line art, 4 monotoned watermarkers for any shading or black that I didn't want bleeding through, a white and a black ʻŌhuhu acrylic marker for when I wanted more opaque cover-ups that I also didn't want bleeding through, 2 pink ʻŌhuhu alcohol markers for all the glowing pink parts of the hair that I did want to bleed, and 1 pink highlighter for if I wanted to add to the glowing hair on one side and not the other. I think letting myself get really weird with how differently I interpreted the glowing was the right move for this challenge because, again, there's really no way to do it wrong. I feel like on every single page I managed to do something completely different and just as interesting. I like them. I'm cheesed. I even went back to the last ʻŌhuhu sketchbook page and used a couple spots of bleed to make some final faces. Everything worked out in the end in a way I feel really good about, so here are my results for day 1. Once again, I'd like to invite anyone watching to join me, and if you want to follow the official schedule, the prompt for day 1 starts right now, October 8th. And is quote-unquote due on October 10th, and the rest of the prompt will likewise be do every other day for the next 20 days. If you want to participate but can't keep up with the schedule, that's fine, you do you. If only 1 or 2 prompts catch your interest and you only want to do those, that's also fine. You are welcome to join us that way. And we'll also be doing a public live stream here on YouTube, looking over any entries submitted using the actually infected hashtag and celebrating them. Let us be your hype men. So until then, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you especially to my patrons who make all of this possible. $2 a month gets you access to everything I post, like works in progress and early sneak peeks. $5 gets you access to our patron-exclusive live streams where I work on current projects and play games while on call with my team. And $10 gets you name in the credits, just like this. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!